By now, you have heard me speak many times about the power of going practice first, standards second. You've heard me talk about how accreditation is not the test at the end. Should be about a process of development, and that it's all actually about the one thing you really care about most, and that is the difference that you are making in your classrooms. Well, today I want to share the story of one school and a group of amazing educators on their journey towards accreditation through the eyes of impact using edufolios and the evidence engine.
Hi, I'm Selena Woodward, and I'm an English and drama teacher, university lecturer, and with edufolios.org, a big-time reflective practitioner. So how can reflective practice help you grow your teaching skills, fall in love with your profession all over again, and help you nail accreditation and teacher registration with less stress and less work? Well, this is the Reflective Teacher Podcast.
Hi there, and welcome back to the Reflective Teacher Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Selena Woodward, and you may notice that today I am joined by a special guest. Today, I would love to welcome Sarah Birrell to the podcast. Hi, Sarah. How are you?
Hi, Selena. I'm good.
Great. Well, Sarah is here for many reasons. Sarah is part of a program at her site where they're all working on HA and lead. She is an edufolios user along with many teachers at her school, and she is a graduate of the evidence engine. Whoop, whoop, whoop. So with all of those accolades under her belt, I just knew that you would want to hear from Sarah and all the things that she's been doing. Trust me, there is plenty to glean and learn from Sarah's story and the story of her school. So Sarah, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself? Tell us your story. Who are you, Sarah Birrell?
Yes, who am I? Okay, well, I'm a teacher first and foremost, but it wasn't always that way. My mum was a teacher, and I just used to always think that being a teacher was not an option, was not a career path that I was able to take. You know, she'd always tell me how bad teaching was, and you got to do this. And the demands of teacher, I just didn't see it as something in my vision. So I actually played the saxophone at high school, and I went to the Conservatorium of Music for a little bit, and I just found, no, this is not for me. I don't want to do this. But what I was doing a lot of tutoring. So on the side, making lots of money as a young teenager, and in my early 20s, lots of money on tutoring, which was amazing. And then I just thought, what can I do? I don't know what to do. So I started off doing event management. And I did an event management course and advanced diploma with that. And I wanted to be a wedding planner. And someone said to me when I went out in my journey to be a wedding planner, they said, what are you doing? They said, if you want a family, if you want any sort of life, give it up now. Just don't even try. You won't see your family on the weekends. Clients want to see you after their work. So there's all your nights on the weeknights. I was like, oh, okay. Someone could have told me this before I started my journey on event planning. But and then one day I was just so despondent, and I said to my mum, I said, what am I going to do? And I'm 24 at this age, 23 or something. And she goes, why don't you be a teacher? You do it already. You teach the saxophone, you're a tutor, and you're so good at it. Just do it. I'm like, oh, that just makes so much sense. So off I went to uni at age of 24, so a little bit older than a lot of normal graduates of teaching. And then I actually started working as whilst I was at uni, as an SLSO, so a teacher's aide, at the school that I'm currently at, Manly Vale. So I worked there for 3 years during my uni degree. And then my first year out, they offered me a temporary position straight away. So I took it and I stayed there. And actually, my mum was a teacher at my same school. She retired, and I walked into her classroom. So
that's amazing.
Yes, bit of a small world. So that was, a good 10 years ago. Then I had a few babies in between there, a couple of babies rather, and here I am now back teaching and trying to just be a better teacher every day, really. And that's my plan. That was my, goal, and I'm here, and it's nice to be able to aim for something a little bit higher. And that's what I think HAT's given me. And a lot of the teachers at my school to be able to do without having to go with all that pressure of an AP or then that next level.
Yeah, so not wanting to be in middle or senior management, wanting to stay in the classroom and, like you say,
and
be the best teacher. Yes, make impact, seek and such.
Yes.
Impact,
I've got all the buzzwords. Yes.
She's got all the Selena approved buzzwords. I love it.
Right.
So we know that Manly Vale is clearly a huge part of generational energy, or whatever you want to call it, in your family. Somebody from your family must be closely affiliated with Manly Vale at all times. I hope you've notified your children of this. So tell us a little bit about Manly Vale as a school, and what I love. My first connection with Manly Vale was through one of your colleagues, Sharon, and who is a fabulous educator too. You all are. And I know that at Manly Vale there was a group of you who were all trying to follow the same career pathway. There's definitely a clear focus on impact and growth and feedback. And it's an amazing site for that kind of level of leadership, that level of thought around how we help your staff to move forward. So that would be my impression of you guys. But you tell us a bit about Manly Vale, and what's going on with your group, your gang, because it is a gang.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You are spot on, Selena. The leadership here at this school is, I think, one of the biggest contributors to why our school is doing so well. It's one of those schools in our area that everybody wants to be a part of. All the teachers in surrounding schools just want to come and teach here. The casual teachers want to teach here. We're just such a sought after school, and it comes from our leadership. She is our principal is just phenomenal, and it's all about balance. She's just all about knowing where to go and how to get there in a way that makes teachers happy, and in doing it in an achievable way that's practical. And I think, and Sharon as well being our deputy, having that foresight, it's all about well-being and just helping us in any way that we can and giving us the time to put things into place. So Sharon, when this whole, I didn't even realize what HAT was and lead teacher work was really. And Sharon joined our school a couple of years ago, and it kind of became something that was spoken about. And we're like, oh, okay, what is this? Let's look a little bit more. And then one of my colleagues, because our school's designed, and it's a brand new school, was very lucky that we've just got a brand new building, but it's designed so that the walls of the classrooms can open up and you can team teach, and trying to really foster that really group learning. And so one of my team teachers was like, I'm going to do HAT. I'm going to do it. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, sounds a bit too much for me at the moment. I don't know. She's like, no, you've got to do it. You're doing everything. You do it with me. I'm like, oh, okay. I'll think about it. And then I started looking into it a little bit further, and I was like, okay, it sounds okay. Like, we can do this. And then we had I'm not quite sure, an accredited teacher from another school area coming to help us and show us what it means, what the process would be like, what the journey is going to look like, how she did it, give us some examples and all that kind of thing. We sat down and we're like, I don't know if I feel more overwhelmed or less overwhelmed with what you've just told me, but okay, it sounds achievable. It sounds big in itself as well. Okay, right. So I sat with it for a little bit, and I was like, you know what? There's got to be something online that is going to help us with this. And I was like, surely there's like some sort of online portfolio program that we can do. And lo and behold, Edufolios popped up in my Google search, and I was like,
goodness,
and I was like, you're kidding. Are you like, this is exactly what we need? And I just went, this is it. So I went to Sharon, I said, we have to look at this Edufolios thing. So that's when, we've been in contact with you and all that kind of stuff. And through that whole process and just discussing it in the staff room, we just had all these other teachers come out of the woodwork saying, oh, I think I'd like to do that. And they're like, what is this HAT thing? And I said, you've got to do it too. You're amazing. You do this, you do that. Just give it a go. Why not? You've got to do your accreditation anyway. And you get paid more if you get it. So like, oh, that sounds great. That sounds interesting. Let's give it a go. And so we sat down and I said, Sharon, can we buy this program? And after speaking to you, we were like, yep, let's do it. So we all just decided then, okay, who's involved? Who wants to do it? It was put out to all the teachers, and we got, I think, 9 teachers that wanted to go on this journey with us. And it was just really nice that we had each other's backs and that we could support each other, and we had somewhere to turn to when it was getting tricky or not knowing what to do next or how to do it, how to even start. And in conjunction with the Edufolio program, it's really helped start that process, I think, for a lot of the teachers. We've set up a Teams, and a WhatsApp group. So we're all on there together trying to help each other and just trying to create that environment where we're showing impact, and it's becoming less about, and learning this from the evidence engine, course that I did with you, Selena, learning that we're trying to just create an impact in our school rather than go for accreditation. It's more about that than ourselves. And that's what we're teachers for, right? Is all in the end is trying to help our students rather, and finding the most efficient way to be the best teacher as well. So finding that impact has just been really great. I'm looking at data more as a school. We're looking at surveys and teacher voice, student voice, parent voice, all of those things to help bring in that impact and show that impact rather.
Evidence,
because we're making a big impact. Yeah, we're doing a lot. So why not champion that and show it?
Were you not doing that before then? Were you not going to those places for that evidence in the same way?
No, well, data wasn't a big thing about 3 years ago. Definitely not at our school. Yeah. I mean, it was, but not in the sense that it is now. Like now it's all about, let's show student growth with numerical data. Sorry. And alongside teacher observations and looking at triangulating our data with a NAP plan, a standardized tests, our in-school tests, and seeing where our issues lie and where our growth is and what we need to pick up on, and just having that kind of stuff. So yes, I think we were always doing it. And as I said, having our principal be as amazing as she is, I don't know how she's done it, but there are 0 cliques within our teaching world. And in schools there often are, there can be those little cliques, but we all just get along so well, and we all are real big champions of each other. And I think that was always happening, but not in the way that we could now show it with evidence and with justifying the process and the means and how we got there,
I can remember early conversations where I was explaining that you were going to have to actually give each other feedback, and that this was going to be amazing because there's a group of you and you can plan to give each other feedback in groups because it's colleagues, and maybe that's kind of what shifted. You've had all this data about the kids, but maybe you haven't been talking about that in the context of what you've been doing to achieve that impact for each other, sharing your practice with someone else, them observing you, taking that forward and understanding the process and the steps that it takes. You have to plan to see the impact.
Absolutely.
You have to share that with the kids so that they can be part of that conversation. You have to share that with your colleagues. I can remember often it comes up in the evidence engine, but I can remember people will go, I ran a PD, but I never actually bothered to find out what difference that made. You're like, well, then so it is all about that.
Now we run surveys, pre and post surveys, and everyone knows that that's just what we do now, because
it's brilliant. It's just part of the culture of your site now. And that's it. That's one of the big changes we need to make to grow momentum in this HAN lead. We need more sites to do what your site is doing and lift up the importance of impact on each other and the need to give feedback and be okay with receiving that feedback and using that feedback as data for yourself. So, in the past, data can sometimes feel quite confronting. We'll often avoid finding out about how good we are, or avoid the bits in our evidence that we don't want to talk about because we know they're going to be a weakness, rather than facing them and going, interesting, cool, a challenge accepted.
Absolutely.
Does that relate?
Big time. And I think you have some of those teachers that are still like, but why? But but why? What's the point? What's the purpose of all of this? And it's just like, well, isn't it amazing that you can actually see, and not just because you feel and in your heart as a teacher that they've improved, but it's now on paper. And I know that sounds really quite I don't know what I'm looking for, but it sounds like it just goes back to, it's just data, you don't know your kids well enough. It's like, no, it's not that. It's just about having that big idea about where did they start, where do they come from, and how can we make changes, and where do we make those changes, and accept those changes within our self, within our programs, within our students, because every student and different cohort is so different. And it's having that ability to say, no, it's not just me that's the problem, it's other things, and it's not a reflection on me as a teacher. But I can use all my evidence to say, well, what can we change to make it better? And that's, I think, the culture that we're trying to do here at Manly Vale, is just say, no, we just want to get better and strive to be the best for our students. And that doesn't mean that we're coming into classrooms, because we're doing quality teaching rounds at the moment, which fit quite well into this whole feedback with staff thing. And just going, no, it's not about feedback from the teacher as such, but just on the lesson and how it went and how the kids engaged and all the
feedback on the learning and the impact. And you as the facilitator have made choices, and we often make those choices based on assumptions if we don't stop to reflect, right? So that's dangerous, because we're just making assumptions, and we need to do you know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah, the assumptions is a big thing. Before I was finding my impact actively, it was just a case of it was in my head, and I was just like, that didn't work well, it's just something else. And you do your anecdotal net records, and you might look at it next year and you make changes as you go, perhaps. But it's just so the type of stuff that we've been able to pull out of data and as a process of finding how we're impacting our students has just been so invaluable. We can see that as a school, time has not been a great area for maths for us. And so, okay, well, what do we need to do as a school to help get those results better, and let kids learn about 24-hour time and timetables and calendars and all those types of things? But and having the impact on why is the other things working so well? Why is our impact doing well in other things? A lot of it comes down to time,
Ironically.
Ironically, right?
We don't have time for time. But you know but listening to you there, it's like, what we do here is we measure our impact, and that enables and empowers those who are operating at the lead level to go, here's a whole site project, right? I will now take that, I will research that, I will go through the docs, I'll come back and we'll implement something, and those who are at HA to go, hey, I actually had a really great result with calendars in year 3. Let me come and observe me teach it, or let me run a PD on that, or do you want me to swap some resources with a group of you? Oh, can I just record the impact that has on you and your kids? Oh, there's some HA evidence. Or if you're proficient teachers, observing you teach, you giving them feedback on their teaching, it works in all those ways, in the way I feel like it was meant to work, like as soon as you focus on your actual reason for existence as a teacher, that's a big statement, which is usually like making a difference in the world, impact, the rest just happens. Is that, I always say that, and people go, it's so easy, Sal, but it is, isn't it? It's when you learn how to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think just building each other up, and as teachers, I'll do a professional learning with my staff, my colleagues, on something that, like you said, people have identified as, hey, Sarah, you know how to do that, can you show us how? And I'm like, okay, sure, let's have a go. And then the emails that I'm now getting back from that of, Sarah, thank you so much, this showed me this, that helped me do that, and now my kids are able to do that. Not only is that just helping me to show that an impact's being made, but it's making me feel validated and appreciated by my colleagues. So the school environment and culture, because of all of that, is just so positive and uplifted. And it's just little things that, before you would have just maybe a slap on the back, going, that was awesome, thanks, Sarah, or to another colleague, like, thanks, it's so great for that. But in an email or in a survey, to have that in writing, it's such a big difference.
It is. And what an amazing thing for your principal to see too, they can celebrate all of you can celebrate each other, and of course then you've also got awesome pieces of evidence if you want them for a HA or a lead set. It's just done. So many people struggle with that because they don't have that feedback loop at all, and it isn't. I'm really glad that's happened. Good.
Yeah, no, I think the whole process for going for the accreditation on top of all the impact is that whole idea of let's collect that evidence and put it onto paper so that it can be used. And so
yeah, so listening to that there, it's not like we're all going for accreditation and that's what we're doing, we're ticking boxes here. It's we're going for improving impact, and we've accidentally now got
along
a
the
bunch
way.
of evidence. And
Exactly.
how does that feel? Does that feel different to what you were expecting it? Like when that person came in and went, here's my evidence, and you were like, like, does this feel different?
Absolutely. At first I was like, okay, so I've got these descriptors and I've got to address each single one of them. How am I going to do that? Well, how am I going to do that one? I can do that one, but this is just felt, and we didn't know quite the process to do that. And then I think when you just explained it to us as, let's just look at it as impact, and let's just teach normally, go about your day doing exactly what you're doing. But if you just find those little pieces to help you show what you're doing, it's done for you. It's not creating extra work, it's just celebrating the work that you are doing.
And if you've got leadership giving you the space and the time to do that reflection, and you're doing it
very
in small
important
groups, really valuable, very important part of this leadership, if you're listening. Very important that you have that time, protected time too. I know it's really hard right now because there's no teachers anywhere, but like try and protect their time. But also people will go, but there'll be gaps, and I can't possibly be covering all the focus areas. And that's probably very true. I know I don't. There are definitely focus areas that day to day, I probably unconsciously avoid. They just don't appear in my, we've talked about that before, like the ATSI stuff. It just doesn't, unless I consciously choose to incorporate it, terrible as it is, it's just not part of my cultural identity as a teacher yet. But Edufolios helps me with that, because every now and then I can grab my heat map, right? Have you done that? And what have you worked with that?
Yeah, so I don't think I've got enough yet to make a full heat map where I need to find it for the goals. For the gaps and what I need to fill out. But yes, doing the heat map is incredible, just for knowing not just where the gaps are, but also for knowing how much I've hit something. How many times I've hit, and I go, okay, I'm doing that well. Maybe it's time to focus on something else to just improve myself, right? Like just to go, okay, that's enough. You've done well. Okay, well, I see you, I hear you. It's all good. You're
that's
there.
Your thing. That's your favorite thing.
Another thing. Let's try something new. Get out of my comfort zone and try something else, because that's the whole point, right? Is to grow and adapt and learn new things. One of the things that we were kind of in our heads thinking this might not work or be helpful, having so many people of us doing it, is that whole idea of, well, if you're doing that, if you're leading that, then I can't do that. And
I remember that.
There's only enough room for one of us to implement this in the school. So if you're doing the Indigenous, you're leading that committee, then how can I put that for my hat and use that myself? And so having those conversations as a team around how it's not impeding upon each other, it's actually helping. And you can go, well, okay, I can go to you for something, and then I can help my prac teacher, for instance, or I can help a colleague in the next classroom, or just helping my students and doing my own research about it. You're still able to address it and saying, well, if I did have to do it this way, this is what I would do. That was one of our biggest challenges and hurdles, was just talking about that. But I think also the idea, some other people are worried about, well, are you going to do things in the school just so that you can get your accreditation? Are you going to try and check boxes and implement things in our school just so you can tick a box for your accreditation? I think that's a big concern for a lot of people, because I don't want things to be implemented and more work upon people just so that something can happen or change in the school. So we've just been really conscious about not making more work on people and instead doing what we're already doing, because we are doing it.
Let it evolve, and it will be a valuable lesson for your leads and your senior leadership, because they'll be able to see how your school evolves, because your school will also have a thing that it loves and is really good at, and things that it's not really doing well. That's normal, right? We're humans, so we all have the thing that's our comfort zone and the thing that we just do if we have to. And the beautiful thing I think about doing it with a team is you will all have different things. It would be kind of fun to all go, right, let's look at our data. What is our thing? Let's catalog that. Because if that's my fear, I'm going to come hang out with you in term 3.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. That's awesome. So I remember when you, what it would have been, August, September last year.
Yeah.
Like you came to the evidence engine, and these are the questions that you had right at the beginning.
Oh God.
Everybody, right? So you wanted to know, how do I create evidence, and how does something become an evidence set? And then there's you were like, there's artifacts, and there's evidence, and then there's stories, and then there's standards, and I don't really know how all that fits together.
And oh my
You
gosh,
were like, I could sense the like, there's so much stuff. You were just drowning in all the questions. You were definitely overwhelmed.
Yeah, and that's hence why we came to you for this evidence and going, help us, Selena, get my head straight so I know what it is that's expected and what it all means. Oh my gosh, it was a godsend.
Because you guys sent two people, the school sent two people from the school to join the evidence engine. This happens. Yep, absolutely. And so what difference did that make? Can you answer those questions now?
Oh my,
can you talk to Sarah of July?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
She's laughing.
Yes, I absolutely now. But now I'm in that position where I'm helping the other people in our team have those questions, answer them for them, because they're in the same position because they didn't do the evidence engine, of course. So it's really great that Sharon and I can now go to our little meetings together, our HAT meetings or our HALT meetings that we call them, and go, all right, who needs help? Where are we starting? What are we going to do? And they're just like, oh, no. And it's like, don't worry. Sharon and I have been to the evidence engine. We know exactly what we're doing because Selena is the best, and we have just learnt it all. It was amazing. No, being able to answer those questions, I think the biggest one was creating an evidence set. And what the evidence engine helped me do was realize that it's not big. It doesn't have to be this. I felt like it should have been a project for me at first. I was like, so I need all this evidence for one thing. So maybe data or maybe maths or whatever I decided to do. Where in actual fact, it could have just been one simple little program that I created and shared, and creating and finding all those descriptors to match that little bit of evidence. And it was like, that's so achievable and it's doable. And it's not big. It's like, when I've got my kids and I'm teaching them English and I tell them to write a narrative, they want to write a massive novel. I'm like, no, keep it simple, stupid. Let's just.
I actually only want to know if you can vary your sentence structures in this paragraph. So if I'm really explicit about the learning objective, you don't have to write me 4,000 words.
Exactly.
I don't have to mark 4,000 words. Yay. And trust me, the assessors appreciate it if they don't have to mark 4,000 words. Exactly. So yes, knowing then now how to do an evidence set, and that involves creating a statement around something that we have done in the classroom or with our colleagues, having evidence to support how we did that by anecdotally noting the program or a conversation I had or a survey or an email from a colleague, something like that. Yeah. Just made it really achievable and doable. And I think having these quality teaching rounds that we're doing at our school now, we've decided as our HALT team to come together. We're going to write a cares statement or a style statement, thanks to the evidence engine, together, because we've all done the similar process, and we can sit there together and write one from start to finish and go, hey, we now have an evidence set under our belts. Modeled it.
There you go.
Together.
It's done, and it was easy.
Everyone gets the experience you got in the evidence engine, right? But sort of scaffolded and group work version.
Yeah. But no, having Sharon there with me doing it was a great motivator to be able to say, are you ready for tonight? I'm going to get on you. Have you done your homework? Say, oh, yes, I've done that. What are you going to say? I don't know yet. Okay. So just those types of things was really great, having her along the journey with me. And then also knowing if Sharon couldn't make one night or if I couldn't make one night, it was a case of we're not going to miss out. You can fill each other in and help support each other in that way.
Yeah,
that was great.
I mean, everything is recorded anyway, but I guess you could bring Sharon's questions and your questions. And I'm really, really pleased. That's awesome. Because, I'd love for more schools to do that, because the whole mission really is I want to get to the point where I'm redundant and you don't need me, universe. So, I know, like, I'd love every school to have at least one person who's like got the toolkit, because that's what I've given you, I hope. It's like you've got the
Oh,
blueprints
amazing.
and you've got the 4 steps of this and
Scaffolds, templates.
yeah,
Yes.
you've got everything you need to coach anyone through the process at any career stage. So that's awesome. And you've just had a conversation with me before this about bringing on 3 proficient teachers who are doing proficiency. So I can see that it's
Yes.
spreading,
Yeah,
which is
it really
fantastic.
is.
Yeah.
And I think there's that whole need of wanting to do it well. I mean, as you always say, in the words of Selena Woodward, is we're all Hermione
Selena
Grangers.
We're all Hermione Granger.
We're all Hermione Grangers, you know, and we just want to do everything perfectly. And it's okay to not, as you've taught us. It's okay not to be perfect. And it's okay to, but it's okay in the same instance to have something like Edufolios to collate it all. And it's like the filing system of our hat, you know, and it's just makes so much sense. And I'm just so thankful that it's there, to be honest. And I think that's what the other teachers are seeing. They're like, we're just so lost. And I think having that program just brings it all together and go, oh, okay, I can do this. It's there.
Yeah, absolutely. And with the new version of Edufolios now, it should be even easier because you've got your templates and it's all. That's the story with Edufolios is start with the story and then let us help you, because, you know, like you were saying at the beginning, you look at the standards and the 148 focus areas and you've decided you need to meet all 148, where actually there are 37 in HA and 37 in leave, but there's still 37. And then you're like, but each one of those is that one's got 12 things in the one, and soon you're just really overwhelmed. Whereas if you can do it with the Edufolios, you start by going, who am I impacting? That narrows it down from 148 to 37. Right, who am I talking about? That narrows it down from 37 to like 8. You narrow down to just that one focus area that you're writing about at that point. You can see the language of the focus area descriptor, so you can sound all fancy, you know, like, you know that it matches because you're using the language. Like, so it's all designed to remove a lot of that overwhelm and guide you through that process, and often realize that one story covers multiple focus areas.
That's the thing, right? Yeah. And doing the evidence engine and having a partner that you paired us up with and sharing an example that we had written, and then having them critique that and give feedback on them, going, well, hey, hang on, you could have added that there and that could have been this, and oh, I didn't realize, was so helpful. But more than that was also just seeing an example, you know, having somebody else have a go, an example, like, oh, okay, that's what you're doing. Okay, good, I'm on track, or I need to change this and alter that. But then also in your Edufolios, like you were saying, having on the side to say, who are you impacting? And then what are you addressing? And makes you also look at the other ones going yourself without having to share it with someone, go, oh, maybe I could do that one too. And oh, yeah, I could add that one in there as well. So you're able to filter through it if you wanted to. And
the descriptors connect, because, you know, if you're talking about differentiation and it says, you know, the language might be I've initiated and implemented 3, and then you might put 3 levels of differentiation. And you think, well, how did I do that? Oh, I used my assessment data, standard 5, off we go. Like, you know, right, okay. And it kind of 3 or 4 sentences soon become like, oh, look at that.
And almost too much, you know, with some of the limits got on with the word, like, no, I can't.
I know, and New South Wales have even brought one in now. Before it was.
I know, I'm devastated. But
I think it's a good thing. Like I said,
I agree.
Want to mark 5,000.
They don't want to know.
Down for that. I would mark you down. No, I'm not that evil. But yeah, you can be more succinct. It's too much time for you anyway. You have other things to do.
Agreed.
You know, but it's good. Thank you. I love that you've got so much out of that. And I love that you've taken the model that you had in that module 5 and you're kind of doing it on a grander scale with everyone co-creating one big evidence piece. And I love that, because it's pretty much like a bigger version of what you did with the evidence engine. And then the next step might be to divide into smaller groups and do small group ones, and then soon they'll be swapping with each other and helping each other. Too easy.
So we're getting to that point. So that's where we're leading to it. And like I said before, it's just coming down to time for us. And Sharon, our deputy, has been really great at being able to say, you know what, let's put time to this. We're going to give us all a day off class together to spend, just really nut this out and get started. And I think that's the hardest part, just getting started. you
Yes,
know?
and don't be afraid.
Yeah,
Perfection is
just
not
do
only
it.
not necessary, but it's actually quite dangerous because it stops you making strides forward, and it is actually impossible to be perfect.
Yes,
Everybody has a
exactly.
different version of perfect. Every parent,
Yeah.
every kid, even you, depending on what day it is, what the phases of the moon are, and how much coffee you drank, have a different
Yes.
version of what
How
perfect
much
is today.
chocolate I mean.
Chocolate. Got it. Yeah, absolutely. So, what would you say has been the biggest takeaway from your experience in the last year or two with Edufolio's Evidence Engine, working with leadership, working in your site,
Oh my
or the
God.
coaching? What's the
Mm,
biggest to you as a professional? What do you think has changed?
tricky question, but I think for me is validation of myself and myself as a teacher, and that what I'm doing is actually quite amazing. And that's all come from all of that stuff that you just said, though. You know, I couldn't just get there before. It was the whole process and using that process to be able to arrive there. Do you know what I mean? Just be able to say, you know what, you are doing some pretty cool things there, and being able to showcase that. And it doesn't need to. No one else needs to see it. No one else needs to hear it, or no one else needs to, you know. And yes, it's probably going through accreditation in the end, but just in the first place to be able to say, oh, that was pretty cool. That, you
Yeah.
know, that was really, I did make an impact, and that's what you want to do as a teacher, right?
Yeah.
Let's make
So
that impact.
using what's your favorite tool then to help you do that? What do you think is the
Style, using style to do
okay.
that on
Style is
on on the Edufolio's platform
yeah.
is my biggest, and being able to, like you said, bring in those standards and look at who I am impacting first. It's just
Yes.
it's for me, it's the scaffold, and having that to be able to do it in the first place.
Is it a mindset shift as well? Because you're not looking at which standards am I hitting, you're looking at who am I
Absolutely.
impacting?
Yep. And I think that, and as the further along that I've been going along with it, the more I just know the standards. And so
Don't
they're
you?
in my, right? Well, so they're in my mind now. And I just feel like, oh yeah, that's this and this is that. Okay, cool. Because I'm just, you just know them. And it's just a case of, you know, you read a book 20,000 times, you get something out new of it every time you read the book, right? So
Yes,
it's
yes.
the same thing. Just the more you engage with it and immerse yourself in it, you're just learning it better and know it more. So you know what you're hitting, you know where,
Yeah.
you know, what's left to hit yourself almost, you know?
Yeah. It's interesting whether that, I wonder if consciously or unconsciously that influences the way you plan or the way you run your
Yeah.
business or the way you are. Oh, hello, school bell. Hey,
Bell.
authentic. She's definitely in a school.
We are in school.
Yeah, you know, it'd be interesting, wouldn't it, in the long run to just see if you start making more impact because you're thinking more
I
broadly
think
all
it
the time.
definitely has. I already know I'm consciously doing things to be able to make an impact. And like I said, things that aren't going to make more work for other teachers. I'm really
Yes, I love
conscious of
that.
doing that. Really conscious of that. I don't want to just go, hey, I found something new. It's going to hit my hat, so you can do it too, please. No, that's not what it's about. I think it's really important. Yeah, it's just about me for my classroom and my students more so than the accreditation, and going, you know what, I need to put in more Indigenous perspective, and I need to um, showcase that more in my lessons. So hey, I'm going to write that into my lessons now, and then I might have that conversation with my colleague and say, hey, I was so amazing to put that into my lesson. If you wanted to try it, it's there. If you want it, great. If not, doesn't matter. I'm like, oh no, I want to do the same. So
yeah,
you know, just putting it out there.
Proficiency,
Yeah,
HA-ish. Eventually, it might turn into a lead project. That's
yeah,
all I want for the world. It's just like
yeah,
enjoy measuring your impact, celebrate it, let your principal adore you, let each other celebrate.
yeah.
Plenty of opportunity for extra cake and wine and chocolate, whatever your celebratory thing is. Cheesecake for me, please. You know, like, yeah, that's awesome. It's been such a pleasure to hear your story, to know that you're still on the journey too. You're not saying to me, oh, I've done evidence engine, so
Excited about it. Excited about it.
you're excited about it, and you get that this is a continuous journey, and that accreditation is just something that happens along the way. You know, it's a nice thing, but you know, like what's
Yep.
actually sounding more important to you is understanding your impact, being able to
Yeah.
articulate that, and being able to be strategic about what you
Yes.
find. That's amazing.
And feeling supported while doing it. Yeah.
Yes, and celebrated, supported and celebrated. Manly Vale are doing an amazing job. You and Sharon do an amazing job leading it. It's just beautiful to be a part of. It's a real honor to be a part of it.
Well, no, thank you. It's all to you, Selena. We really appreciate you helping us on the journey, because I don't think we would have been here without you and without Edufolios and without that engine. I'm not even just saying it. It has been really helpful in having that program just set us in the right direction where we feel confident and supported and able to now give that off to others. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
All I want is give that to everyone. Pass it on the baton. Yes, please. Oh, thank you so much, Sarah. In the show notes for today's episode, I will send the link in there to Sarah's school. I don't know, Sarah, do you want people to be able to contact you? Is that something you're interested in? Or no?
Yeah, I'm happy for anybody if they'd like to reach out. Not a problem at all. I don't know what I can give, but I can always ask the question.
Work something out, because I know that there are lots of people, you're in New South Wales, aren't you? So even in New South Wales, if this school rings a bell and down the road, you're like, we want to know what you're doing. Why not? Get in touch. We'll work something out. We'll put something on the show notes page. And just, everyone needs to know and celebrate what's going on at Manly Vale, because they're doing the work. You're doing the work. Yeah. It's beautiful to see. So thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. Appreciate it.